the Honourable Pretence. The ballroom shimmered with the soft glow of 100 candles, their golden light glancing off polished marble and crystal chandeliers. The air was perfumed with lilac and expectation, the delicate scent of summer and scandal alike. Laughter rippled beneath the hum of the orchestra as silk gowns swirled and boots struck rhythm upon the parquet floor. It was a night of appearances, of glances carefully measured and reputations delicately balanced. Miss Lillian Avery, eldest daughter of a once prosperous family, stood near the edge of the dance floor, her hands clasped too tightly around a glass of watered punch. Her gown, pretty, though several seasons out of fashion, could not quite disguise the strain in her posture. She watched the dancers with polite detachment, knowing she was not among them. The Avery fortune had dwindled after her father's ill-fated investment in a shipping company that had never returned to port. Now, she and her younger sisters lived under the looming shadow of debt, attending such gatherings only by the grace of old acquaintances. And then Mr. James Harcourt entered the room. He was, by every measure, the kind of man who drew attention without seeking it. Tall, dark-haired, and carrying an air of easy confidence that bordered on insolence. Whispers followed him like a wake. Some called him charming, others called him dangerous. It was said he had ruined a baron's daughter, won and lost a fortune in a single night, and once fought a duel for reasons no one quite agreed upon. Yet tonight, his gaze, steady, amused, and entirely unrepentant, found Lillian's across the room. He approached with a grace that seemed both deliberate and careless. "Miss Avery," he said, bowing with a half-smile that could have been mockery or admiration. "I was beginning to think London had forgotten beauty altogether." Lillian arched a brow. "And I was beginning to think London had run out of flattery." Their words danced before their feet did, a duel of wits, each testing the other's resolve. And though she would later deny it, something in that first exchange thrilled her, not the charm itself, but the danger behind it. A proposal. Most improper. A week later, Lillian found herself sitting in the Harcourt carriage, her gloved hands clenched in her lap. The proposal, if it could be called that, had been made with disarming bluntness. "My reputation," Harcourt had said, "is somewhat tattered. I have no desire to marry, but I do wish to silence the gossips who would see me ruined. You, Miss Avery, are respectable, intelligent, and—" Here he paused with a flicker of mischief, impoverished enough to consider an arrangement beneficial to both parties. The plan was simple. They would pretend to be engaged for a season. Lillian would gain protection from scandal, and more practically, a generous allowance to restore her family's estate. Harcourt would regain his social footing, shielded by her grace and reputation. But as their charade unfolded, what began as pretense grew dangerously real. At dinners, his laughter came easier in her company. In carriages, his hand lingered a moment too long when assisting her, and when they danced, it seemed, for the briefest of moments, that the room disappeared entirely. Still, Lillian reminded herself it was all an act. Harcourt's reputation, after all, had been built on false promises. And she, of all people, could not afford to believe in fairy tales. The mass cracks, rumors as they do, began to shift. London society, ever hungry for novelty, decided that perhaps the notorious Mr. Harcourt had changed, that perhaps Miss Avery had softened the rake into something resembling a gentleman. But Lillian knew better. She had seen the flashes of melancholy in his expression when the music stopped, the letters he burned late at night, the scars that marked his knuckles from some long-ago fight he never spoke of. One evening, as rain lashed against the windows of Harcourt's townhouse, she found him at the piano, playing softly, his face lit only by candlelight. The melody was unfamiliar, mournful. "You play beautifully," she said. He did not look up. "My mother taught me, before she decided society was more entertaining than family." Lillian hesitated, then stepped closer. "Why me, James?" Why this arrangement? His fingers stilled. Because, he said quietly, you're the only person who looks at me and sees more than the stories. The words settled between them, heavy and electric. For the first time, she saw not a rake or a rogue, but a man tired of pretending. The truth beneath the pretense. When the truth finally surfaced, it did not come from scandal sheets or rivals, but from Harcourt himself. At the height of their deception, when invitations overflowed and congratulations rang like bells, he took Lillian aside during a garden party. The air smelled of roses and rain. I cannot do this anymore, he said, his voice rough. Not because I wish to end our charade, but because I no longer know where it ends. I meant to protect my reputation. Instead, I seem to have surrendered my heart. Lillian's heart faltered. You should not jest about such things. I have jested all my life, he replied, stepping closer, but never with you. Her defenses wavered, then fell. The pretense that had shielded them both had become a truth neither could deny. Epilogue. The dance returned. Months later, the Avery estate bloomed again, its gardens restored with Harcourt's quiet support. The rumors of their engagement had long since transformed into news of their marriage, not scandalous, but strangely admired. At their first ball as husband and wife, the same orchestra that had once played to their pretense now played to their promise. As they danced, the chandeliers glittered like stars, and Lillian's laughter, once cautious, rang bright and free. When the music slowed, James leaned close and whispered, Do you recall the first night we met? I recall, she said, smiling, that you were insufferably confident. And you, he murmured, were impossible to forget. The dance ended as it had begun, with two people pretending for the world, yet utterly honest with one another beneath it.